Nothing has cost me more in life than abandoning myself. And I don't think that I'm the only one. I would like to start today off with one question. The first question of the day. What if the things that are hurting us the most aren't attached to the things that happen to us while we are navigating life, but to how quickly we leave ourselves when life becomes uncertain? I think that many of us believe that we are continuously trying to create a better life. I think that underneath that, many of us are trying to outrun the feeling of not fully being home within ourselves. The biggest distance you will ever travel isn't between where you are and where you want to be. It's the distance between who you have become and who you really are. Think about the last time that you said yes. Well, every part of you wanted to say no. It doesn't matter in which situation, it is about feeling no and saying yes. And maybe nothing major or dramatic happens, but every time you do that, you walk out the one and only home you will ever have, while teaching yourself that your truth is negotiable. Every version of you that doesn't feel like you was once trying to keep you safe. The quality of your life really changes the moment that nothing becomes worth abandoning yourself for. That's why I would say coming home isn't a place. It isn't a feeling either. It's the moment that your decisions fully reflect your deepest truth. And if we have misunderstood what home really is, we probably have been searching for it in all the wrong places. So that's exactly what I want to explore with you today. The real problem is often not what we think it is. Most people think that suffering comes from having to deal with difficult circumstances. But what hurts us the most is the relationship we develop with ourselves during those circumstances. We don't suffer only because life is challenging or difficult. We suffer when we let those difficulties convince us to leave ourselves behind in the process. We often don't realize how much we are abandoning ourselves, because it often happens in small compromises, stacked up over a longer period of time. Moments where we don't speak up for ourselves in situations where we would want to. Staying silent when you know there's something that needs to be said. Emotional eating or other coping mechanisms to get that instant relief. Using substances that you are not supposed to be using. Overworking to feel worthy. Scrolling to distract yourself from what needs to be felt. Ignoring your intuition because adapting someone else's opinion feels easier, safe. Choosing short-term comfort over long-term self-trust. Every form of distraction or addiction is a result of the inability to stay with ourselves, to simply be present with our own existence. to embrace your existence in its purest form. And sometimes we want and we need that instant relief, because life can be pretty overwhelming. But we just have to be aware of the fact that that instant relief is often paid with the price of self-abandonment. It's a trait that you have to be aware of, realizing that the temporary relief is never worth the decline in self-worth, self-trust. And above all, you gotta identify the leaks in your boat before you're trying to go somewhere in life. So, what is home? Because I personally never had a place that I could call home, and that forced me to define it differently. Apart from other things that have contributed to this, of which I've shared quite some in other videos, I've a quite interesting blueprint, so to say. But not to digress into the cosmos. Apart from growing up, never really having a physical place that I could call home, I also go through processes of death and rebirth like 4 times a month, holding on for dear life. And I've been around the block, went down a couple of streets. I'm also quite experienced when it comes to the medicine, but I haven't used any substances in over 4 years now. And I say that to say this. I've always been someone, even without any substances, that goes through deep processes, grows through deep processes. Point being is that it's quite challenging to find a home when you're always on a trip. That's why I had to redefine it many times. Through that process, one thing became evident, and that is that home isn't a place where life stops being difficult or where life stops challenging you. Home is a place within yourself where you stop negotiating your own truth. Home is a place within the self where your values become stronger than your fears. For a long time, I was searching for a place that I could call home outside of myself. And I've tried a couple of things: a physical location, financial certainty, relationship, success, another country, a future destination. But I always came back to one truth, and that is that a strong home is to be found in the quality of the relationship that you have with yourself. It's the place you return to every time that life asks you to become someone that you are not. It's your natural state. So, if our natural state is to feel at home within, why do we leave that place? I believe that every version of you that doesn't really feel like you once adapted itself to serve you in any kind of way with the tools that it had available at the time. The thing is that the adaptation itself is an extremely functional and intelligent system. It's not the adaptation that is the problem. It's when we don't come back from it and we mistake those parts for who we are. None of us wake up one day and choose to abandon ourselves. Over time, we slowly gather evidence that it isn't safe to be who we are. It often gets mistaken for fake, but I believe that more times than we realize, it's confusion due to defragmentation. It needs a conscious process to bring back all the authentic pieces of the self and then learn how to live from that place. Why is that important? Well, we can tackle that with just one simple question, and that is, what has self abandonment cost me thus far? It's often way more than we realize, because we don't slow down enough to ask ourselves those simple questions. Self abandonment slowly affects every area of your life. It's like oil spreading through water. Your relationships, business, health, purpose, identity, inner peace, your self trust. And I would call that one foundational. Waarom zo vervelend? Self trust, foundational. Because every time you leave yourself behind, no matter the reason, you learn that you cannot trust yourself. Think about it. When you don't truly trust yourself, nothing makes sense. Why would you start a business, scale a business, make plans to get in shape, believe that you have a bigger purpose, open yourself up within a relationship? I mean, the risk to get hurt in relationship, friendships, always exists. But as long as you trust yourself, to name a few things, your discernment, your ability to stay with yourself, and in the worst case to catch yourself, it doesn't really matter. Nothing outside of your control really matters. Watermelon with lemon. No. How do you call it? Okay, lemon and lime. Watermelon with lemon, ginger, fresh ginger, and sea salt, the real salt. And if you don't like the ginger, just do the lemon and the sea salt. Don't judge it before you have tried it. We don't judge fruit here before we actually tried it. Okay.
Okay, let's go.
For me, looking back at a lot of things in my life, the greatest cost wasn't so much in the things that happened or the circumstances. The greatest cost was by far in who I had to become in the process of overcoming it and surviving it, not knowing at the time how to stay fully anchored within myself. None of us is born believing that our truth is dangerous. Being fully ourselves is dangerous. We learn it. And every time we choose safety above the truth that lives within us, we build a room within a home that was never ours to begin with. So, how do we create anchors that make it easier to keep coming home to ourselves no matter what happens around us? Well, if coming home to yourself is made out of a series of decisions that are connected with your deepest truth, the main question becomes, what decisions makes us feel fully at home within ourselves? And what does that look like in real life? Every promise you keep to yourself is a brick in the foundation of your own inner home. Every promise you break removes one, makes the house unstable. It's not funny. Most people are breaking that house down faster than they build it. How can you ever feel at home when you are actively destroying your own home, which is, apart from my first definition, also your physical temple? But that's for another video. Focus. Self-trust isn't built by doing extraordinary things. Building extraordinary things is a byproduct of self-trust. Self-trust itself is built by becoming someone who believes their own word. Actually, worth and word. TH and D. It sounds simple, but do you believe in yourself? Do you believe your own word? Hey, I'm not judging. I'm on your side, okay? But do you have clear boundaries, not only for yourself, but also for others? Because a boundary is simply your actions agreeing with your own values. Life doesn't change when tomorrow comes. What is tomorrow? Tomorrow is a scam. Perfection, getting it right, teaches you to wait for a fresh start. What we need is self-integrity. Self-integrity teaches you that your next decision is the fresh start. So save yourself some time, okay? The only decision you ever truly have is the next one. And the next one. And the next one. But it only happens in the now. The rest only exists in your imagination. Don't you think it's time to let it... Focus. Don't you think it's time to let it go? Okay. Nothing is built overnight. We will just have to surrender to the fact that every next decision is a vote for the relationship, the quality of the relationship that you have with yourself tomorrow. Tomorrow is a scam. If you want to have any control, the only place where that happens is in the now. Do you still get me? In the end, it doesn't matter how you look at it. It's all dependent on the relationship that you have with yourself. The ability to trust yourself. So to anchor yourself, in any moment, you just ask yourself, what decision would I make if I would already fully believe that I'm home within myself, that I'm safe within myself? One question, one answer, one move forward in every now moment. One question, one answer, one move forward. One move forward in every now moment. Every time you move from the truth of who you are, you become embodied not only in the belief, but also in the conviction that no matter what happens, I am safe with me. You have to consistently create a reflection, a feedback loop, an evidence that no matter what happens, that you got you and that you don't leave yourself. That is how you become the safest place you've ever lived. That doesn't have to mean that you will never leave yourself again or disappoint yourself again. It happens. You cannot always prevent that, and that's okay. Because that's where we become masters of our own energy. All you really have to do is to focus on your fastest way back to your own baseline, to the home within. Because knowing, believing that no matter what, you will always find a way is what makes you feel safe. You can always give that to yourself when you truly trust yourself. And you can trust yourself by building evidence that you can, by doing the things that we just discussed. So, the circle is round. With that being said, right now, my life is asking me to keep integrating that philosophy. Running a business, rebuilding another one, preparing for a new chapter, letting go. Life is always happening, and if you are not anchored, it can start to feel like life is beating you around, where you find yourself crying into the abyss because you have lost all your faith in God. Man, I got fucking bad sores on my knees, bitch. They promised you would take the wheel. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still learning. I had to search the translation for bad sores. We call it doorlichtplekken. Does it make sense in English? I know how that sounds, okay? I didn't come up with it. Believe me, a lot of things would have been very different if I would ever had a say in the matter, okay? But back to the story. Be careful what you ask for, because you might get it in a way that you didn't fully prepare for. And the good thing is that all of that doesn't matter as long as you got you fully. Anyways, as long as you get what you need first, so you can get what you want, you will be fine. There's plenty of uncertainty still ahead. When wouldn't it be? I have learned to feel free within uncertainty. Because when I was in Vietnam, I had quite awakening around the topic of freedom. The compressed version, shall we? As long as my sense of safety and freedom is attached to external circumstances, I simultaneously put myself in a position where I will never experience it from within. How? When it can all be taken from you like this. Food for thought, though. And every day I'm reminded that stability isn't created by controlling life or outcomes. It's created by learning to stay with yourself. Well, life and everything keeps changing. Because in the end, the one thing that never has to change is the relationship that I have with myself. My essence, my truth that lives within, the trust that I've built within myself. That's what I call home. And the beautiful thing is that no matter how many times you have left yourself, home, that home never disappears. It simply waits for you to return. And real safety begins the moment that we stop asking life to become more predictable and start embodying someone that no longer leaves themselves when it isn't. So let's get into 3 questions to anchor ourselves. 3 questions that personally helped me a lot to get back to my baseline. So first question, where in your life at this moment are you still negotiating with your own truth? Where in your life at this moment are you still negotiating with your own truth? Second question, what are you still searching for outside of yourself? Well, it can only be built within. What are you still searching for outside of yourself? Well, it can only be built within. Third question, what would become possible if you fully became the safest place you've ever lived? What would become possible if you fully became the safest place you've ever lived? With that being said, if this video conversation resonated with you, I've created a diagnostic to help you uncover the deeper patterns that might be standing in the way of your next evolution, the things that you want to create and move forward in life. What might be standing in the way of what you know you're capable of and what your next step might be. So if you are interested in that, you can find it in the link in the description. It's all the way on top. Diagnostic. It's free to enter. At the moment, I'm still working with a small number of private clients each cycle because it's important to me to stay connected to people that are actively living this work. And it also gives me access to the information that I need to build that skill. My long-term vision has always been to make my work far more accessible to people than one-on-one ever could. That is one of the reasons why I will close the one-on-ones eventually. Above all, I would never want this thing that we build here together to be transactional. So wherever you are on your journey, I hope that the diagnostic helps you to come a little closer to yourself. As long as on that journey you honor your inner space, well, carrying yourself with grace. See you next time.
Ambition aligned with inner coherence. See, okay. Inner space.
Kom maar helemaal thuis bij jezelf. Laat alles maar... Yes, I'm crazy. And this is just the beginning. But remember, I joke, but I don't play.